Hi once again, welcome to National Freelancers Day. My name is Tim Bradburn. I'm with Shane Perlman, who describes himself as a freelance evangelist. Hi Shane, so you're going to show us how to land the big fish.
Hey, good morning, at least morning where I am. So yeah, we're going to go through and talk a little bit about the basic strategies and principles for how to land large company brand customers if you're a freelancer. Because I know a lot of freelancers start out, and they get customers where they can. And one of the most common questions I get, aside from what should I charge, is how do I get the big projects, with the larger money and the big names? So that brings up a really good question, which is why do big companies use freelancers? One, they're slammed. They've got more ideas that their team can come up with than their own ability to execute. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes they're just like, look, we have more time, we have more stuff than time, so we're going to find additional resources, but either we can't afford or we don't want to hire those resources permanently, so we're going to do them on a project basis. Sometimes, in our case with MTV in particular, it was a partnership relationship. So we were working with another agency that was a strategy agency that went and pitched MTV on a business idea. And so through a partnership, we were pulled in where somebody had actually pitched the idea. It's not that these large companies don't have the staff or internal resources to do it. It's that their team has been thinking those same thoughts for a year or longer. And it's really nice to just bring in somebody with a fresh perspective to poke at your problems.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just straight skills. Sometimes, you want a real specialist, but you have no reason to hire a specialist. So you just need a very particular skill set for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then, ironically, this is true, but one of the most common reasons we get hired is because the internal bureaucracy of acquiring an internal resource is worse than the internal bureaucracy of acquiring an external resource. And so sometimes, if they're a large company, they're like, well, I could, get an in-house designer, and it'll take me 3 months, or I could hire you in 2 weeks. And then lastly is accountability. I can hand stuff to you and walk away, and based on experience, I know you guys are going to get it done. I don't have to manage you. I don't have to worry about it. So I can actually go and focus on my core requirements and know that you're going to handle this other thing. So the second part, and this is how do I get an eBay or how do I get a Boeing?
Colin, I understand you've been working as a freelancer for 15 years now, and I know you've given several talks about starting and running a freelance business, so I'm hoping that you can take us through the kinds of things that you've learned along the way.
Yes, thank you, Tim. This is something I came up with a while ago to try and help people think about whether they want to be involved in a piece of work. Largely, there are 3 reasons the phone's going to ring or somebody's going to get in touch. The first one is the first column, which is, it's all gone horribly wrong, we need help now. So let's call that, in crisis, panic. We need help. The middle column is actually the normal one, which is, we've started doing this, it's a bit more complicated than we thought. Darn, we could do with some help moderately soon. It'd be kind of nice if we understand you understand this stuff. Can we have a chat about it? That'd be kind of nice to get some help, please. The third column, which is kind of fun, is, we're thinking of doing this at some time in the future. Understand you really understand this stuff. Well, we know that it's a good idea to talk to somebody before we get there. We'd rather like to think it through well in advance so that when we get in there, there's no real surprises. And those are the smart customers. So that's the fun stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, let's deal with the rows. Let's get the lower row out of the way if we can. The phone call is going to go one of 2 ways. And if they're on the lower row, it's, how much? In general, if people are only after price, and that's all they're interested in understanding, probably not the kind of work you want to get involved in. It's not going to be very satisfying, and it's going to be constantly, just kind of haggly, conflicty stuff. Upper row, however, is, so any idea what's involved, any idea how long this might take, any idea what else we might have to do, got any idea how much this might end up costing us? That's a good basis for a conversation. If they're in crisis, if you're available and you can solve their problem, then it's probably going to be fine. And that can be quite reputation enhancing if you do a really good job of digging them out of the hole. The fun stuff is the top right-hand corner. These are the people you get on with. These are the people who understand the value of what you do, so that's the place to aim at. Now, the reason the white arrow's on the diagram is that's the process of education. If you can get people out of thinking about price, and you can get people out of being in crisis and get them to start to think about being smarter and planning ahead better and understanding the values, then you can turn it into good work.
So Dave, you're going to tell us about some of the common pitfalls that contractors encounter, particularly when they're new to contracting.
Yes, this will be based on the experience I had as a contractor, and perhaps more so with all the information we've picked up over the last 10 years, in fact 12 years, running Contractor Calculator. So these are the key areas we'll be covering today. They sort of chronologically take you through the process of becoming a contractor. With the first one, though, we'll be focusing on the mindset of a contractor. New contractors need to start thinking like a small business rather than like a permanent employee. Contractors do not have rights in the same way employees do. Contractors don't have bosses. They don't have employers. Contractors have clients and are contracted to supply services to their clients. So it's important to remember that contractors are small businesses. I mean, often the problems we have, someone will write into the Contractor Doctor forum, maybe the client wants to kick me out. Can they do that? What are my rights? Should they pay me? Should I get redundancy pay? And the answer is, well, no, you don't get redundancy pay. Think of yourself just like the plumber or the electrician that you hire to do a job for you. So would your plumber come to you and say, oh, I've seen that the job's been finished early, but can you pay me for another 4 weeks, please? You know, that concept's totally ridiculous. So it's important for contractors to realise that they can only sell the skills that they currently have. They're not going to get trained. And if you're not good enough, then they can just kick you out. When you're a permanent employee, if your boss asks you to do X, Y, Z, you have to do X, Y, Z. Whereas when you're a contractor, you've actually been brought in to supply specific services. And if they ask you to do something else, you can actually say no. You have to do it in a nice way, but what it does mean is that contractors need to avoid being a tail-end Charlie. And one of the risks with saying yes to everything to your client is that they will very much be controlling you, and that big word control is not good when it comes to IR35.
Saif, good morning. You're going to tell us about how to compete more effectively as UK freelancers.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me. I think there's some kind of profound changes on the horizon for freelancing and the state of work in general in the UK and further afield. Labour is probably one of the next areas which is going to experience profound change or profound impact from the internet and its increased usage. If there's 20,000 engineers a year coming through in the UK every year, and India's producing 150,000 a year, and they're connected and they're able to do their work digitally and remotely, then no matter how many immigration laws or whatever are passed, the nature of capitalism and the nature of supply and demand in economics are that there is going to be work for those people, and those engineers in the UK are going to have to compete more aggressively and differentiate themselves in many respects. My thinking is the long-term trend or mid-term trend, I guess, will be that labour will become cheaper in the West and more costly in the developing world. And, over, 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to actually balance out. And if you're a really outstanding PHP programmer in London or a really outstanding PHP programmer in Manila, you're generally going to be able to command the same amount of money. It's already in motion. If we respond quickly and we do what we're good at as a nation and kind of rise to the challenge and maximise the opportunities that are presented by innovating and by doing what Britain does well, which is being creative, innovative and competitive, then there's no reason why we should suffer as a result, and actually our economy can become stronger as a result rather than weaker. So how do UK-based freelancers, or indeed all freelancers, get around the current thing? I guess one of the key things is